He stood in the middle of the mall, 4 years old, clutching a green toy dinosaur, looking up at every passing face with a question that would break your heart. "Miss, did my mom forget me?" She was late for the most important interview of her life. She had 17 minutes to change everything. But when she saw his eyes, wide, scared, trying so hard to be brave, she made a choice that would cost her everything, or give her everything. She just didn't know which yet. This is the story of the promise she made, and how a little boy with a dinosaur changed both their lives forever. She had exactly 17 minutes to change her life. Sarah Weller had been unemployed for 6 months. Not by choice, not because she wasn't qualified, but because the world had decided, quietly, systematically, that 42 was too old for a dynamic team environment. She'd stopped counting rejection emails after 50, stopped rehearsing answers to "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Because honestly, she just wanted to see herself employed next month. This interview was different, though. Riverside Mall management was hiring for an operations coordinator, decent pay, benefits, a chance to rebuild what had crumbled when the layoffs came. She'd spent 3 days preparing, printed her resume on expensive paper, the kind that felt substantial, important, practiced her smile in the mirror until it looked natural instead of desperate, chose the navy blazer her daughter said made her look professional but approachable. The interview was scheduled for 2 p.m. She'd arrived at the mall at 1:30, parked in the cheap lot, triple-checked her phone for the office location. Everything was planned, everything was ready. She was walking through the main corridor, dodging holiday shoppers and teenagers on their phones, when she checked the time. 1:43 p.m., 17 minutes. Plenty of time. That's when she saw him. He wasn't crying. That's what made it worse. The boy stood in the exact center of the mall corridor. Shoppers flowed around him like water around a stone, close enough to brush his small shoulders, but never stopping, never noticing. He was maybe 4 years old. Dark hair, striped shirt, light-up sneakers that blinked red with every tiny shift of his weight. In both hands, he clutched a small green toy dinosaur. And he was looking up, not at any particular person, at every person. His eyes would lock onto a face, follow it for 3 steps, 4 steps, hoping, searching for recognition. Then the face would disappear into the crowd, and his eyes would find another. Sarah slowed without meaning to. She told herself she was just checking, just making sure someone else had noticed. A mother, a security guard, someone. But the crowd kept moving, and the boy kept standing, and something in Sarah's chest tightened with a feeling she recognized from her own childhood, the specific terror of being small in a place that's too big, of needing help in a world that's too busy. She took 1 step toward him, then another. "Sweetheart," she said gently. "Are you okay?" The boy looked up at her. For a moment he didn't speak. Then, in a voice so small it barely rose above the mall noise, he asked, "Miss, did my mum forget me?" And Sarah's entire world stopped. She checked her phone. 12 minutes left. Sarah's first instinct was to look around. Surely someone official was handling this. Surely a parent was seconds away from appearing. But the corridor stretched in both directions, bright, loud, indifferent. No one was calling a name, no one was running, just a little boy, alone. "No," Sarah said firmly, kneeling down so they were eye level. "Mums don't forget their kids. I promise you that." The boy hugged the dinosaur tighter against his chest. "She was here," he said. "I was looking at the shoes that light up, the ones with the rockets. Then I looked up, and she was gone." His voice didn't waver, but his hands were shaking. Sarah glanced at her phone. 1:48 p.m. 12 minutes until her interview. 12 minutes until the chance she'd been waiting for. She could flag down a mall employee, hand this off to someone whose job it actually was. She could still make it. But when she looked back at the boy, She saw the way his eyes kept darting around, checking faces, searching for the one that mattered. She saw the way he was holding himself very, very still, like if he moved, he might break. Sarah made her decision. "And what's your name?" she asked. "Peter," he said. "Hi, Peter. I'm Sarah, and I'm going to help you find your mom, okay?" Peter nodded slowly. Then he whispered, "She's going to be mad at me." "Why would she be mad?" "Because I was supposed to hold her hand, and I let go." Sarah felt something crack inside her chest, because she knew that feeling, the way children blame themselves for adult chaos, the way they carry guilt that was never theirs to carry. Peter," she said carefully, "this is not your fault. You understand me? Not your fault." He looked at her with those wide, uncertain eyes. "Promise." Sarah reached out and gently touched the top of his head. "I promise." She stood up, took his small hand, and began walking toward the nearest bench. Behind her, her phone buzzed. A calendar reminder, interview in 10 minutes. She didn't look back. Peter asked the question that changed everything. The bench sat near a clothing store called Urban Threads, racks of denim and graphic tees visible through the window. Sarah guided Peter to sit, then settled beside him. "Tell me about your mom. What does she look like?" Peter swung his legs, his light-up shoes blinking on and off. "She has brown hair, and she smells like flowers, and she walks really fast." Sarah smiled despite herself. "That's good. What else?" "She says I asked too many questions." "Do you?" Peter considered this seriously. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but she still answers them. That's because she loves you." "I know." Sarah pulled out her phone and opened the Notes app. Brown hair, fast walker, flower perfume. Not much to go on, but it was something. "What store were you in?" she asked. "Foot Zone," Peter said immediately. "The one with the big shoe on the sign. Good memory. My mum says I remember everything." "She's right." Peter tilted his head, studying Sarah with that particular intensity children have. "Why were you walking so fast?" he asked. Sarah blinked. What? "Before, you were walking really fast, like my mum." She hadn't realized he'd been watching her before she stopped. "I was going somewhere important," Sarah said carefully. "Where?" A meeting. Are you late now?" Sarah checked her phone. 1:56 p.m., 4 minutes. "Yes," she said honestly. "I'm late." Peter's eyes widened. "Because of me?" "No," Sarah said quickly. "Not because of you, because I chose to stop, and I'm glad I did." "But what if you get in trouble?" The question hit harder than it should have, because Sarah didn't have an answer. She didn't know what would happen when she missed this interview, didn't know if there would be another chance. But when she looked at Peter, at this small person who'd been abandoned in a crowd and was now worrying about her, she knew she'd made the right choice. "Then I'll figure it out," she said simply. "But right now, the most important thing is you." Peter nodded slowly. Then he held up the green dinosaur. "This is Rex," he said. "He's a T-Rex. They had really short arms, but they were still really strong." "I like Rex," Sarah said. "He protects me," Peter explained, "when I'm scared." "Are you scared now?" Peter was quiet for a moment. "A little bit," he admitted. "But you're here, so it's okay." And just like that, Sarah understood the weight of what he'd given her. Trust. Complete, vulnerable trust from a child who had no reason to trust anyone in this moment. She wouldn't break it, no matter what it cost. The guard asked a question Sarah couldn't answer. Mall security arrived within 5 minutes of Sarah flagging down an employee. 2 guards, one older man with grey at his temples, one younger woman with kind eyes and a radio clipped to her belt. "Hey there, buddy," the woman said, crouching in front of Peter. "I'm Officer Martinez. What's your name?" "Peter," he said, a bit shyer now. "Peter, that's a great name. Can you tell me about your mom?" Peter repeated his description. "Brown hair, flower smell, fast walker." Martinez typed notes into a tablet while the other guard spoke into his radio, requesting an announcement over the mall's PA system. "And you are?" Martinez asked Sarah. "Sarah Weller. I found him standing in the middle of the corridor, alone." "How long ago?" Sarah checked her phone. "About 8 minutes." Martinez nodded approvingly. "Good instinct to stop." The older guard glanced at Sarah. "You here shopping?" "No," Sarah said. I had an interview at the management office." Even saying it out loud made her stomach twist. "What time?" he asked. 2 o'clock. He checked his watch. "It's 2:03 now." "I know." The guard studied her for a moment, not judging, just observing. "You're going to miss it," he said. "I know," Sarah repeated. "And you stopped anyway?" "Yes." The guard nodded slowly. "Good," he said. "That's good." Then he turned to his radio and began coordinating the search. Sarah sat back down beside Peter, who'd been watching the exchange silently. "Are they going to find her?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Sarah said. "Absolutely yes." "How do you know?" "Because your mum is looking for you too. And when two people are looking for each other this hard, they always find each other." Peter leaned against her side, just slightly, like he was testing whether it was allowed. Sarah put an arm around his small shoulders. "You're doing great," she whispered. "So are you," Peter whispered back, and somehow, from a 4-year-old she'd known for less than 15 minutes, those words meant everything. In the silence between announcements, Peter said something Sarah would never forget. The PA system crackled to life. "Attention Riverside Mall shoppers. We have a lost child at the main security desk. If you are missing your son Peter, please proceed to the main security desk on level 1. Repeat, Peter is waiting at the main security desk." The announcement played 3 times, then silence. Sarah counted the seconds. 30, 60, 90. No one came running. Martinez spoke into her radio, coordinating with other security posts throughout the mall. The older guard walked the nearby stores, showing Peter's description to employees. And Sarah sat on the bench with a little boy who'd begun swinging his legs again, slower now, more rhythmic, a coping mechanism. "You want to know something," Peter said suddenly. "What's that?" I wasn't supposed to let go of her hand. Sarah had heard this before, but something in his voice made her listen differently this time. "Why not?" she asked gently. "Because last time we went shopping, I ran to look at the toy cars, and she couldn't find me. She was really scared. So she asked you to hold her hand today." Peter nodded, and I said I would. But then I saw the shoes, and I just wanted to look really quick. His voice cracked on the last word. Sarah felt her throat tighten. "Peter, listen to me. You made a mistake. That's all. Just a mistake. And everyone makes mistakes. But I scared my mom." "I know. And when we find her, you can tell her you're sorry, but that doesn't mean this is your fault. You understand? You're 4 years old. 4-year-olds get distracted. That's normal. My mum says I need to listen better. I bet your mum also says she loves you more than anything in the world." Peter went very still. Then quietly, "Every night, before bed. Then that's what matters. The rest is just life. Just the messy, complicated stuff that happens when people are human." Peter looked up at her. "Are you a mum?" he asked. The question caught Sarah off guard. "Yes," she said after a moment. "I have a daughter. She's 19. Where is she?" "At college." "Far away. Do you miss her?" Sarah's chest tightened. "Every day. Does she know?" It was such a simple question, such an innocent question, but it carved right through Sarah's defenses. "I hope so," Sarah said quietly. Peter nodded like this made perfect sense. Then he reached over and patted her hand. "I think she does," he said. And Sarah had to turn away so he wouldn't see her crying. Sarah's phone rang. It was the worst possible timing. 20 minutes passed, then 30. The announcements continued, cycling every 5 minutes, but no one claimed Peter. Martinez made phone calls, checking if anyone had reported a missing child to other security stations, to nearby stores, to the parking lot attendants. Nothing. Sarah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Hello. Hi, this is Jessica from Riverside Mall Management. Is this Sarah Weller? Sarah's stomach dropped. Yes, this is Sarah. You had an interview scheduled for 2 p.m. today. I did. I'm so sorry. Something came up and I couldn't. Are you still in the mall? Sarah hesitated. Yes. Where? The main security desk on level 1. There was a pause. To the security desk? Yes. Another pause, longer this time. Miss Weller, are you in some kind of trouble? No, there was a lost child and I stopped to help and I couldn't just leave him. The words tumbled out in a rush, defensive and desperate. I see, Jessica said carefully, and you're still there, with the child. Yes. Hold on one moment, please. The line went silent. Sarah looked at Peter, who was watching her with wide eyes. What is that about your meeting? He whispered. Yeah, Sarah said. Are you in trouble? I don't know, buddy, maybe. Peter frowned. Then he reached over and put Rex the dinosaur in her lap. He'll protect you too, Peter said seriously. Sarah almost laughed, almost cried. Did both at the same time. The line crackled back to life. Miss Weller. Yes? Stay where you are. Someone will be down shortly. Wait, am I? But the line had already gone dead. Sarah stared at her phone. Is it bad? Peter asked. I don't know, Sarah said honestly. They sat together in silence, waiting for a mother who hadn't arrived. Waiting for consequences Sarah couldn't predict. Just a woman and a child on a bench in a mall, both of them lost in different ways, both of them holding on. The scream came from the north corridor. Sarah heard it before she saw anything. A voice, raw, desperate, breaking on a single word. Peter! Peter's entire body went rigid. Then, in a voice so full of relief it hurt to hear, That's my mom. He was off the bench in a heartbeat. Sarah barely caught him before he ran into the crowd. Wait, let's make sure she can see. But she didn't need to finish, because a woman came running around the corner, not jogging, not walking quickly, running. Shoes in one hand, shopping bag forgotten on the floor behind her, mascara streaked down her face. Her eyes locked onto Peter, and she made a sound that wasn't quite a word, more like a sob and a gasp combined. She dropped to her knees so hard Sarah heard the impact, and then Peter was in her arms. I'm here, the woman choked out. I'm here, baby, I'm here. I'm so sorry. Mom. I looked away for 1 second. I was just paying for the shoes. I thought you were right there. Mom, it's okay. I couldn't find you. I've been looking everywhere. I thought. She couldn't finish the sentence. She just held him, and Peter held her back, and the entire mall seemed to fade around them. Martinez approached quietly, giving them space but staying close. Mom, are you Peter's mother? The woman looked up, still clutching Peter against her chest. Yes, I'm Elena Torres. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, It's okay, Martinez said calmly. We've got him. He's safe. Elena's eyes found Sarah. You were with him, she asked. Sarah nodded. The whole time. He did great. He was so brave. Elena's face crumpled. Thank you, she whispered. Oh, God, thank you. Peter pulled back slightly from his mother. I'm sorry, Mom, he said, voice small. I wasn't supposed to let go. Elena cupped his face in both hands. No, she said firmly. No, baby. This is not your fault. You hear me? This is not your fault. But you said, I know what I said, and I was wrong. You're 4 years old. This was an accident. Just an accident. Peter's eyes filled with tears. I was really scared. I know. I was too. But you're okay. We're okay. She pulled him close again, and over his shoulder she looked at Sarah. I don't know how to thank you, Eleanor said. Sarah shook her head. You don't have to. No, I do. You stayed with him. Her voice caught. You stayed. I promised him I would, Sarah said simply. Peter lifted his head. She missed her meeting because of me, he told his mother. Elena's expression shifted. Surprise, then something else. Something Sarah couldn't quite read. What meeting? Elena asked, looking at Sarah. It's not important. A job interview, Peter interjected. At 2 o'clock, she was late because of me. Elena's eyes widened. Here, in the mall. Sarah nodded reluctantly. The management office. You were interviewing for the operations coordinator position. Now it was Sarah's turn to be surprised. Yes. How did you? Eleanor stood slowly, still holding Peter's hand. Because I'm the director of operations, she said, and you were supposed to be interviewing with me. Elena said 3 words that changed everything. For a moment, Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't think. The woman standing in front of her, mascara smudged, hair disheveled, still holding her son's hand, was supposed to have been on the other side of a desk, professional, put together, in control. Instead, she was here, human, vulnerable, grateful. I don't understand, Sarah said finally. Eleanor gave a shaky laugh. Neither do I, but apparently the universe has a sense of humor. Martinez cleared her throat. If you're all set here, I need to file a report. Of course, Eleanor said. Thank you, officer. Martinez nodded, then paused. For what it's worth, she said, looking at Sarah, you did the right thing. Not everyone would have stopped. Sarah didn't know how to respond to that. Martinez walked away, speaking into her radio. Elena turned back to Sarah. Can we sit? She asked. Just for a minute. They moved to the bench, all 3 of them. Peter climbed onto his mother's lap, still holding Rex. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Elena said quietly, I need to tell you something. Sarah waited. I've been doing interviews for this position for 2 weeks. I've met maybe 20 candidates, all qualified, all professional, all saying the right things. She looked down at Peter. But none of them were here when it mattered. That's not fair, Sarah said. They didn't know. No, Elena interrupted gently. That's not what I mean. She met Sarah's eyes. What I mean is, you had every reason to keep walking. You didn't know me, didn't know Peter. You had your own life, your own problems, your own needs. But I couldn't just... Most people could, Elena said. Most people do. They see someone in trouble and they think someone else will help, or I don't have time, or it's not my responsibility. She squeezed Peter tighter. But you stopped, and you stayed, and you kept a promise to a stranger's child. Sarah felt her throat tighten. Anyone would have done the same. No, they really wouldn't, and that matters. Peter looked up at his mother. Does this mean she gets the job? He asked. Elena laughed, actually laughed. Peter, because she's really nice. And she let me hold her hand, and she said Rex was cool. Rex is cool, Elena agreed. She looked at Sarah again. I can't give you the job right now, she said. That wouldn't be ethical. There's a process. Other candidates, HR policies. Sarah's heart sank. Of course, she'd known it was too much to hope for. But, Elena continued, I can tell you this. I'm going to personally recommend that we move you to the final round, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you did today. You don't have to. Yes, Elena said. I do, because character matters, and you showed me more about your character in 30 minutes than any interview ever could. Sarah didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. Elena pulled out her phone. Give me your number, she said. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll figure this out. Sarah recited her number, watching Eleanor type it in with one hand while keeping the other wrapped around Peter. Thank you, Sarah said quietly. No, Eleanor replied. Thank you for seeing him, for stopping, for caring about a child who wasn't yours. She paused. That's rare, rarer than it should be. Peter slid off his mother's lap and walked over to Sarah. He held out Rex the dinosaur. You can borrow him, Peter said solemnly. For good luck. Sarah's vision blurred. I can't take your dinosaur, she said. Just for a little while, Peter insisted, until you get the job. Then you can give him back. Sarah looked at Elena, who was openly crying now. "Take him," Elena whispered. "Please." So Sarah did. She took the small green dinosaur and held it carefully in both hands. "I'll take really good care of him," she promised. "I know," Peter said. Then, without warning, he hugged her, small arms wrapped around her waist, small voice muffled against her coat. "Thank you for not leaving." Sarah knelt down and hugged him back. "Thank you for trusting me," she whispered. 2 weeks later, Sarah returned to the mall. Everything was different. The email came on a Tuesday. "Dear Ms. Weller, we are pleased to offer you the position of Operations Coordinator at Riverside Mall." Sarah had read it 17 times before she let herself believe it. Her daughter called from college, screaming congratulations so loud Sarah had to hold the phone away from her ear. Her best friend sent champagne, and Rex the dinosaur sat on her kitchen counter, watching over everything like a small green guardian. On her first day, Elena met her in the lobby. They didn't talk about the interview that never happened. Didn't talk about the bench or the waiting or the fear. They just shook hands, professional, appropriate. But when Elena's eyes met Sarah's, they both understood. Some things don't need to be said. Sarah learned the systems, memorized the protocols, met the staff. She was good at the job, better than good, because she understood something that couldn't be taught. People matter more than schedules. Kindness matters more than efficiency. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is stop. The small voice behind her was immediately familiar. 3 months into the job, Sarah was walking through the main corridor during her lunch break, past the bench where she'd waited, past Foot Zone with its giant shoe sign, past the clothing store with the racks of denim. "Miss Sarah." She turned. Peter was running toward her, light-up shoes blinking, green dinosaur clutched in one hand. Elena followed behind, laughing. "He spotted you from the food court," Elena explained as Peter crashed into Sarah's legs. "I told Mom you'd be here," Peter said triumphantly. "I said we had to come say hi." Sarah knelt down, grinning. "Hey, buddy, how are you?" "Good. Look, I got new shoes. They don't just light up, they make sounds too." He stomped to demonstrate. Electronic beeps echoed through the corridor. "Those are awesome," Sarah said seriously. "I know." Elena smiled. "We're here doing some shopping, back-to-school stuff. Already. Preschool starts in 2 weeks. He's very excited." Peter nodded vigorously. "I get a backpack and a lunchbox and everything." "That's a big deal," Sarah said. "I know." He paused, suddenly shy. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you remember when I got lost?" Sarah's chest tightened. "I remember. I was really scared." "I know. But you stayed." "I did." Peter reached out and took her hand. "Thank you," he said simply. Sarah had to blink hard to keep from crying. "You're welcome," she managed. Elena touched her son's shoulder. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's let Miss Sarah get back to work." "Okay. Bye, Miss Sarah." "Bye, Peter." He ran ahead, shoes blinking and beeping. Elena lingered for a moment. "He talks about you sometimes," she said quietly, "about the day in the mall, about how you didn't leave." "I couldn't," Sarah said. "He needed someone." "We all did," Elena replied. "I think that's what we forget sometimes. We all need someone to stop, someone to see us, someone to stay." She squeezed Sarah's arm gently. "I'm glad you were there," she said, "for both of us." Then she followed her son into the crowd. And Sarah stood alone in the corridor, not lost, not searching, just present, just grateful, just exactly where she was supposed to be. Sarah still has Rex the dinosaur. Peter told her she could keep him. "Because you need protection too," he'd said. So Rex sits on her desk at work, small, green, worn from years of being loved, a reminder, not of the job she got, not of the interview she missed, but of the moment she chose to stop, the moment she chose to see, the moment she chose to stay. Because that's the thing about kindness. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wait for the perfect time. It just shows up, messy and inconvenient and necessary. And it asks you to choose. To stop when others keep walking. To see when others look away, to stay when others leave. Sarah thinks about that sometimes, about the woman she was that day, desperate, late, scared of losing her one chance, and about the woman she became, the one who understood that some chances are worth losing for something more important. She passes the bench almost every day. Sometimes there are shoppers resting, sometimes it's empty, but Sarah always pauses, just for a moment, and remembers the small boy with the dinosaur, the promise she made, the day everything changed, not because of a resume, not because of an interview, but because she stopped. The world moves fast. We all have places to be, schedules to keep, goals to chase, and most of the time that's okay, that's life. But sometimes, just sometimes, the most important thing we can do is stop, not because it's convenient, not because it's easy, but because someone needs us, and in that moment nothing else matters, not the interview, not the schedule, not the carefully constructed plans, just the person in front of us, scared, lost, hoping someone will see them. Sarah saw Peter, and in seeing him she saw herself, the part of her that was also lost, also scared, also hoping someone would stop. And maybe that's the real lesson. We're all Peter sometimes, standing in a corridor too big, searching for someone who will stay. And we're all Sarah sometimes, late for something important, choosing between our needs and someone else's. The question is, who do we want to be? If this story touched you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever stopped for someone or wished someone had stopped for you, share your story. Because these moments matter. These choices matter. You matter. Before you go, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you stopped? Not because you had to, not because it was convenient, but because someone needed you. If you have a story like Sarah's, a moment when you chose kindness over convenience, share it in the comments below. Let's create a space where these stories live, where they remind us what we're capable of when we choose to see each other. And if this story moved you, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story of transformation. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today, and consider this. Who in your life might be waiting for someone to stop? This is the day everything changed. Stories of kindness, courage, and the moments that define us. New episodes every week. Until next time, stop when it matters. See what others miss, and stay when everyone else walks away. Your moment to choose is coming. Be ready.